In this session, we're going to talk about how to raise a material bulk off order and then a call off order for the back of that. And then later on, we're going to talk about subcontractor ordering. So I've shared my screen. You can see my screen now. So we go into purchase orders as before, and we go into material processing and enter orders. Okay, so this screen is exactly the same as we would do as a standard material purchase order. But this time, in the type, we make sure we select material bulk order. Okay, make sure you select that at this stage, because if you select the contract, then that will grey out. Okay, so you'll need to just click the cancel and select the type and literally select the contract after that. As I said in the previous session, if you know the code of the contract, you can start typing in the code in there and hit your tab, and that will bring the contract up. If you're not sure of your contract code, you just literally click on the down arrow and select it from there. I've got a prefix on my order number, it's MA. You might not have a prefix, or you might have a different one altogether, and that is configurable. We've got the prefix, so material order, and then we've got our contract code there. We then select auto, it goes as the actual order number, 22nd order number. Buyer, that's who I'm logged in as. Okay, so that will come across. And again, as I spoke about in previous sessions, the buyer's name can pull through onto the output, onto the purchase order. Requisition buy is not mandatory, but if you want to put a name in there, you can. And again, that can be configured to print out on the order. Supplier, likewise as before, we select supplier. Again, you can start typing in the code if you know the code and hit the tab key. If not, select it by the down arrow. That will populate obviously the address details. And if you've got any alternative addresses for the supplier, which I have in there, or the site, obviously you've got site addresses in there as well. And they're all set up against the actual contract record or the supplier record as alternative addresses. For my supplier, I've set my dispatch method for purchase orders is set to print. And again, that is set up in the supplier record. Okay. If you want to, obviously, if it is set to email, you will, and make sure you've got a valid email address set up against the supplier record. I've got mine set to print. If you want some additional people to actually email, you can use this BCC option here. You click on that, select new, type in the email address you want to email the order to as well, and click OK. Once you've actually typed it in, it will save for a library of email addresses later on. You don't have to keep adding to it. Okay. So print, so that's the main bit of our order. At the moment, there's nothing on the order, so the total value is 0. Status, like as before, do not change the status. This status will change according to what stage the purchase order or the bulk order is at. Next thing we need to do is obviously select our product. So as we spoke about before, if you know the product code, you can start typing the product code and hit the tab key on your keyboard. If not, you can click on the arrow down. If you don't know the product, you know the category that the item is in. If you do, you can obviously type in the category in here, or if you don't know the category, hit the arrow down. If you don't know the category it's in at all, leave everything blank and hit OK. And then you've got all the products, all the categories appear here for you. And obviously you're well aware you can search in here for these items by typing in some text in there. So if you wanted to type in type 1 in there and search, you can type 1. That's particularly useful if you've got a large library of products. I'm going to select type 1, because this is a bulk order. It's brought through obviously the main description. And you can add to that if you so wish, add extra details. You want to add some specifications if it's Kimball, something like that. If you want to go down a line, if you hit the arrow up key on your keyboard and the enter, it will go down for you. Okay. You tab now to the order quantity. I'm going to order 10 tons. So the order units, remember, the price units are all pulled through from the actual product setup itself. So if you need to change it, you can. Please move up down arrow. My price is £6.50 now, and that's pulled through from the previous order I did for type 1 because I've got my update price checkbox ticked, so it'll pull through. Okay, you can have that to not ticked, so it just pulls through as no price each time, and you just have to manually put it in. Even if you need to change it, you can change it now. Okay, tab. Discount percentages, you might have those set up on the system against the product or the supplier. So these will pull through if they're set up. I haven't got any set up. Likewise for the operations, you might be using operations and it will there prompt you to select an operation in here. So mine are grayed out because it doesn't need to select them. Delivery dates. Okay, as I said, we're doing a bulk order. So if you're doing lots of items on a bulk order, you might well want to put different delivery dates against those items, and that's obviously particularly useful for the supplier who can see when they need to be delivered on different dates. So that literally is just a date by clicking in here, changing the date accordingly, and if you need a particular time, put a time in there. That code is pulled through from either the product or the supplier. Again, that's a default, so you can just change it if you need to. Once you've selected the order quantity and the price, it will pull through across on the right-hand side as the total value. And then you've got gross value here together with your VAT value. So no workings out needed there. The only thing you might want to do, if you want to apply a discount after this, you might want to just manually type in a discount value in there. Okay, from this screen, you can add continuously onto the next product if you want to. If you want to put some text on there, click the text box. You might have some default text details in here already, so you might want to add some additional text in there by just typing in there whatever you want and hitting OK, and that will appear here. Okay. You're familiar with these buttons at the bottom because they're exactly the same as we've spoken about on material ordering. So if you wanted to delete a line, highlight it and click delete. Okay, if you want to modify a line, you can either double click into the line, which will take you to the next line to modify it, or you can click in here and click modify. That's the same thing. If you come to this screen and you want to add a product, forgotten to add a product, you can click on product there. Price book. Price book. If you have got price book set up on the system, get your suppliers, you can click on price book and then select the relevant product against the supplier from here. Text we've spoken about. Document. If you want to add additional documents to go out with this purchase order, you're familiar with MX, that you've got the document button in there, which allows you to sort of look at store documents or add additional documents. Preview would preview our output or our purchase order, what it looks like. If we want to then dispatch it now, you're aware obviously dispatching it is to print it. Okay, we don't go in here and change that. We'll click on print to dispatch it. If I click on print now, it'll come up obviously the batch header details that you might be familiar with. Batch date is today's date. We don't need to change that. Period just defaults and pulls through to the purchase ledger period I'm in at the moment. I'm on my training environment, so it's a little bit behind. I click OK then. Just a little message that prompts you. Obviously, by the way, you're putting this transaction in, it doesn't fall into the period on the system. I'm going to say yes to that. Obviously, you need to confirm internally if you would say yes or no. Once you've done that, I've got a couple of different outputs set up, different ways of looking. So I'm going to select this one, and then I'll select OK. Okay, it just brings it up. You can at this stage, if you wanted to, you see the PDF little options come up. You can save it somewhere if you wanted to, but you don't necessarily need to do that because with MX, it saves the documents anyway, or you can print it out. But again, you don't necessarily need to print it out. At this stage, if you just want to click OK, the system will come up and say, do you really want to exit without printing? Yes, I do. I don't physically want to print this one. Click yes to that. Be mindful, if you have the dispatch by email, you have a little, obviously a box coming up. That's where you can email it. And we spoke about that in previous sessions. So that's our material bulk order. Okay. We're now going to basically call off some of those tons against that bulk order. So again, go into the same menu, okay, and be mindful to select the type in here. So we're going to select a call off. Okay. We're going to call off some tons on that that bulk order we've just done. So again, select the contract you need to the bulk orders against. Okay, so that was Heaver Developments. And if I click in order number, it's going to bring any bulk orders up against that particular contract. Okay, and I've got a couple I've done today. If I click on this one here, it will pull through the order, mixed concrete. It's a slightly different order, but it's the same thing. So mixed concrete I've done earlier. And what we're going to do, if you double click in that, what it does, it pulls us into the product, and you can see the order quantity. So my original order was 18 tons of ready mixed concrete. I want to call off 2. Okay, and this is where you can change the delivery date. Do you see that? So you could call off to, I don't know, for tomorrow. Want them delivered tomorrow to site tomorrow, and click OK. And as normal, what you can do, click print. Same process as before. Okay, and that will just say call off. Again, likewise, either you want to save it or print it, but it's not necessary because MX stores the documents anyway. If you click OK now, do you really want to exit without printing? Yes, I do. Don't need to print it off. Okay. Now, if we're going to do another call off order, for instance, we obviously I've not come out of it, so it's still materials call off order, which is good. My screen froze slightly there. Okay, so just be mindful if you are coming out and going back in to make sure you've got it set to either the bulk order or the call off order. Okay, so let's select our contract again. I'll just show you how the system will know how many you've called off already. If you select the contract and you go into your order, so this will bring up again that original bulk order. Can you see that there? Okay. And if you click in here, you can see 16. Okay, so we had 18 to start with, didn't we remember on the other order? The original bulk of order was 18. I've called off 2, so it's remaining is 16. Okay, so I hope that gives you a bit of insight how to do a bulk order and then calling off. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about a subcontractor order. Okay, so in the same menu, you can see purchase orders and subcontractor order processing. Again, I said these can be worded slightly different according to what you've asked for from your consultant. So we're going to go into subcontractor ordering, enter orders. Again, it's very similar as before. Enter orders. So the first thing we do, we can see the type on the right-hand side there. We're fine with that. We leave that as it is. Okay, and we select our contract. Again, as before, as I keep saying, if you know the codes, type the code in, hit the tab key. Okay, I'm going to select the same development. Okay, and again, you can see here we've got a little prefix here, SC for subcontractor order, and obviously you've got the contract number there. Once you hit auto, it's going to show you the number of the order, which is 6. I'm logged in as Ken, so Ken's come up here, and again, requisition by. Very similar process to what we're used to already, so we can put somebody in there if we want. Put David in there again. Okay, so subcontractor this time as opposed to supplier. So obviously start typing in the code if you know the code and hit the tab key. If you're not sure of your subcontractor order, subcontractor, you can literally click on the arrow and you can select your subby person you want to select. I'm going to select. As soon as you selected that one there, obviously straight away you can see the dispatch by is pulled through. If that's blank, that means that you haven't set a dispatch by in your subcontractor record. Operations slightly higher up here, slightly different place. But again, if you have the operation set up, it will be highlighted. You'll need to select an operation. Anything that's needed on the system, you probably realise this, required to save something, the system will tell you by flashing in that field red. Okay. Again, BCC, you can copy as before. We've emailed, you want to email some different people. Same screen, exactly the same as before. Okay. Address, obviously, you've got alternative addresses in here. You can select an alternative address. It says different addresses for the subby, and you've got different site addresses. Okay. Different site addresses might be quite useful if you've got a big development, like this is TV development, and you've got different plots and you want it to deliver to a certain plot or something. You might want to put a different plot address in here for it to be delivered to. Okay. So pretty much the same as a material order. Okay. The only difference at the bottom here, if you can see, instead of product, we've got category. Okay, so you hit category. Category obviously are going to behave differently. We've got measured works, which obviously would be the labour element. You can call this something different if you want. We have a set that come through as part of the system setup, and these can be renamed if possible. So you've got measured works, and obviously you might have something like materials, which is obviously not subject to CIS. Okay, so it will not, the system won't allow you to put two work categories on one order. Okay, you might, if you're doing applications, you might have applications in here as well. So it depends on how you've configured the system. I'm going to do measured works, and if you click your mouse or tab down, the screen opens up. Okay, and this is where obviously you can elaborate on there. You could put, oh, as per bill of quotes attached. Again, you're familiar with attaching documents. Just add additional information in here, as we've done before. Okay, and if you need to go down to the next line, if you've typed so many on, you can click your arrow up and you'll enter, and that goes down the next line. Value. Okay, if you put your value in here of your item, of your order value, I'm going to put 12,000 in there. Again, these pull through, so processing type pulls through from what's been set up against the subcontractor record, okay, whether they're paid cumulatively or on one-off movement invoices. Okay, so mine's movement, I'm leaving that as it is now. Retention percentages, again, this will pull through from the actual order of the subcontractor record. If there's nothing in there, you can obviously put a percentage in there in this order, if you so wish. VAT code, okay, VAT code is pulled through from the subcontractor as well, if you so wish. I mean, most of the time this is going to be a reverse charge. Okay, so that would probably pull through as reverse charge. If you need to change it, you can there. As I said, operations I'm not using on here. Okay, so your system might be configured to use operations, so you can put an operation in there. Supply and fix. This will be needed to save the order. It could be blank if you've not set it up against the actual subcontractor record. Okay, I've put this as a labour only bricklayer. If you wanted to select another one, obviously you can just click on the drop down. Click on the drop down and select whatever you want to select. Okay. I can just select it. Okay, but you must select one here. The right hand side, okay, so you got discounts percentage, so you can put discount if you want to on there, if you need to. You can also set, obviously don't forget, you can set a default discount percentage up against the subcontractor record itself. The hourly rate, this can be fed through to timesheets you're using the timesheet part of the system. Again, these can be default set up against the subcontractor record. Including retention, this is to do with the work categories. Okay, so this is just saying, is retention calculated on this work measured works category? Yes, it is. Retention is. Discount, yes, you can set these up. Obviously, at the time of setting up the work categories, I've set mine at CITB to be calculated as no, because we don't do CITB on the system. Okay, but again, these are changeable if needed. You might have a one-off element that might be changing. These are defaults, so if you need to change them, they can be changed there. Likewise, if you need to add another category, you might want materials on here. You just can click on category and add another category. Text, same as before, familiar with that, no different there. Okay, you might want to add that in there. Right. Again, on the right-hand side, dispatch, waiting dispatch, do not change that. You don't need to change that. Okay. Lines on the order, 2 lines on the order, because I'll show you how that looks in a moment. Again, same as material orders or a bulk order. If you want to delete a line, highlight it, click delete. If you want to modify it, highlight it, click modify, or you can double click into the line, it takes you into the line to delete it, to modify it. If you want to attach documents here, because this might be particularly for a subcontractor order, you might want to do additional documents that might need to attach, like some insurances or something like that. You can click on document and attach them that way. Preview, obviously your preview our output, which is our subcontractor purchase order output. If not, if you just want to print it or dispatch it, if you click print, it'll come up with this we're familiar with already. Click OK, say yes to that. Okay, and it'll come up with our order. You'll have your logo in the right-hand side there, and it might look slightly differently because you might have asked for some different data or things moved, so it might be slightly different. Okay, at this stage, you can again, if you needed to, save a copy or print. But as I said before, MX stores the documents anyway, so you can go back into the subcontractor or the contract this one is put against, and you'll see this purchase order. You need to print it at all. If you're happy with that, just click OK to that. That's storing the documents, okay, and then that has been dispatched. Right, so that is a subcontractor order. Likewise, if you need to amend an order, we spoke about, and this works very much similar as before, when we're doing material orders. Exactly the same way. You go in, and obviously the first thing it will expect you to do is to select your order. So you need to obviously find the order you've gone into, click OK. It will come up with the next version number, except yes or no. Next version number means do you want the order to show as version number 1 or 2? Show you how many times you've revised the order. If you don't want the next version number on there, you can just say no. Okay, and that will just remain as order number here with no version against it. And then you can literally just come in here. Remember we talked about the status, not having to change it because it knows it's been modified, so it's changed it accordingly. And then you can just literally go into it and change it here. Okay. And then again, dispatch it again because you've amended it. And that one's amended, modified order. So modifying is quite simple, same as before. You're aware we spoke about in previous sessions printing and reprinting. So if you've not printed or dispatched the order at the time you've done it, you can literally come in here. Some people do that if they've got a lot of orders that they're not dispatching all the time. They can come in here and you can look in your own orders. So I could look if I wanted to under my own orders, and I could dispatch them if they hadn't been dispatched already. There we go at all. Okay, so clear all. Just pick and choose what you want to dispatch. Okay, or reprint an order. Okay, so a reprint order is something you might obviously want to print for internal use or something like that. They only appear on the reprint if you printed them already. Okay. Tendering, if you're doing tenders on the system, obviously you can enter a tender in here. Cancelling subcontractor orders is very much the same as a material order, so you're probably familiar with that. Okay, you just select the order number, and obviously it will ask you if you're sure you want to cancel it. It won't delete the order from the system. It will just show on the order inquiry as a cancelled order. If you've cancelled it, obviously you can't cancel an order if you've got waiting invoices against it. You can reopen an order. Okay, so very similar structure to our materials processing.